This is a Bloody Vegans production.
Young age. And so when my mother was in the 70s, so she was into like yoga, meditation, and spiritual teachers and stuff like that. And my father was not, and my father was New York City, guns, drugs, and rock and roll,
Right.
a kind of a party guy, Vietnam vet and stuff like that. So a year before I was born, she turned vegetarian, and then I was born, and she got, she was into fasting and just, all that wacky stuff, but my mom and father divorced, and I had an evil stepdad, and we had, my brother, was a violent, street kid in and out of jail, became paranoid schizophrenic, at age 19, 20 years old. He's been institutionalized for about 20, 30 years. And then my mom passes away Christmas Eve, and I'm 9 years old, and I moved back in with my dad, who's heavily, drug addicted, and so I left my house, lived out on the streets for a bunch of years, and I always kind of wondered, and I became, drug addicted, and abused alcohol, and all that fun stuff, and then over time I'm like, man, why did my mom raise me vegetarian? I've never eaten meat, fish, poultry, any of that. Why did she do that? Why did she teach me about yoga? Why did she teach me about meditation? So as I'm figuring out my life a little bit, and, figuring out places to sleep, places, what to eat and all that stuff, I was working in a skateboard shop in Manhattan, and my cousin came in and was like, man, I just read this book, Diet for New America by John Robbins. You got to check it out. Yeah, I was thinking about you the whole time. So I'm like, oh, great, And I mean, and I was a little hip to, to the vegan thing. You lived in the city, you know people, you meet people, but you read the book, and the first few chapters is like, oh, this cow, like just all these beautiful stories. This cow did this, and this dog, saved these people's lives, and these dolphins, helped these ships through these, the rocky seas, and like just how amazing animals were. And then halfway it was like, boom, slaughter, kill, like all this, the way, just the way factory farms work, and all this suffering and stuff. And I put that book, I was like, whoa, man, I just didn't know that, eating a slice of pizza, had that amount of suffering in it, So I put the book down, and I'm like, all right. I wouldn't even finish the book. I obviously read it, but I was like, man, all right, I'm done. I'll go figure it out. I'll just eat peanut butter and jelly for the rest of my life, because you don't know what's on the menu, and and that was 25 something years ago, 30 years ago. So it's amazing how far veganism has come. And you go to any restaurant now, and you go to any grocery store, and you could get Ben and Jerry's makes ice cream, and it is so easy, it's so simple now. In the beginning of the journey, you're like, what the hell am I gonna do? So yeah, man. So that's really how it started. That book changed my life. I used to literally read that book on the train like this, like keep it up high so people could see it, and then, get into conversation. Oh, what's that book about? So, yeah, that book changed it,
Incredible. An incredible story. You mentioned, obviously, the vegetarianism came in really young.
Yeah.
And has formed, a part of your thinking. You obviously you wanted to revisit this why, this deep why where you taught this.
Totally.
Did you hang on to it the whole way through all of those different troubles that you were kind of going through over the years?
100%. Yeah. I didn't know any other way. It wasn't, and I grew up in a very Italian neighborhood in South Queens and in Brooklyn. I lived in Bensonhurst, which is a very Italian neighborhood. And so all my friends, oh, come by for dinner, meatballs and this pasta, and veal, this, and, and the people that invite you to dinner, they know my diet, but then you meet their mothers, and their mother, they're very motherly, so they're always like, oh, well, we made this on the side for you, and we made this, and so it was easy to do that. And you know what, I'd say because of my confidence in what I was doing, the people around me changed their diet.
Right.
These kids are, they want to play basketball, playing handball in the streets, in the park and stuff. And they want to, they're like, oh, I'll do that for a month, or I'll check it out. And, and just planting those little seeds, not without even trying to plant the little seed, but just hanging out and, doing that. The real switch happened when I was in the skateboard shop, and I'm like, man, I'm drinking like, gallons of Guinness a day, and eating acid or doing this or running around the streets and all that stuff, but I won't eat a slice of pizza anymore, so like that hypocrisy of my lifestyle, that was when the seed really planted to shift my energy, because what you are what you eat, right? So you have that in your head, and now, all right, no, oh yeah, I'm gonna check out this green juice. Yeah, go to the just juice bar. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, why did she get me into yoga? She was a yoga. Let me take that yoga class, and then, so now I'm not hanging out with the guys at the bar and the guys, on the streets. Right. And now I'm not drinking on Friday because I could take that Saturday morning yoga class because, maybe that yoga teacher, is, I want to talk to her or whatever, so it's like, so that, and then that community started to open up. Oh, check out Raw Foods and check this, and then there's dance clubs where there's no alcohol, and it just, and the vibration of just being alkaline, just more green juice, more raw foods, fruits and vegetables. That alkalinity changed my vibration. I couldn't hang out with the same people, It's wild how it happened. New York City, she kicked me right out. She was like, you don't vibe here anymore, and you need to go to the West Coast where the rest of the health freaks are, And so I moved to California and, taught meditation and yoga and juvenile hall systems, and started a raw food vegan, company called In Bloom Foods, and, and really started living and imbibing what I was, really meant to do, is just speak on it and teach people about it, and take people food shopping and clean out their cabinets, and this has sugar, get rid of it, try this product, and and just keep spreading the word, and really trying to reduce the cycle of suffering that animals go through. And veganism, how it is. It's there's people that do it for health reasons. Oh, I don't eat cheese because of this, or I don't eat this because of that. And then there's a whole environmental aspect, and then there's the animal liberation part of it as well. So it's been a beautiful journey, and I tell you one thing. I was in the skateboard shop around the same time, and a guy came in the store. He's like, "Oh, do you have like non-leather skateboard sneakers?" And when you work in a skateboard shop, there's a whole wall of disc skates that there's so many kicks. So yeah, and we're like, oh, and not leather, yeah. I was like, oh, you vegan? And he was like, I'm actually raw vegan, And we were like, yo, what's that? What is that? Like, there's a saying in The Simpsons. There's a Simpsons episode, and Lisa's like, oh, I'm vegetarian, and the dude's like, he has like white dreadlocks. He's like, I'm fifth level vegan, and she's like, what's that? I don't eat anything that casts a shadow. And so I love that stuff. So we were like, wow, that's next level. He said, oh, come to Caravan of Dreams, which is, on the Lower East Side, this restaurant. There's a guy named David Wolf. He's talking in the back room. So we all skate there. There's four, me, my girlfriend at the time, my buddies, whatever, we all skate there. And, there's all older people, everyone 60, this person has cancer, how can we cure this? And all of that stuff. And David Wolf's just firing it off. Cooked food is poison, and did it like the energy, he's vibing. Everyone's like, oh, it's amazing. He takes a break, and then he comes up to us like, yo, like what are you guys doing back there? Like like he never sees young people at this type, with this type of information. It seemed like he was really excited to see us.
Right.
And he was like, yo, if you guys paid, we didn't pay to get in, we snuck in, but he was like, yo, if you guys paid, take the money back, buy a book, get this, like learn the information, learn about this stuff, So we were like, all right, let's check this out, let's do it. And bought the book. It was called Nature's First Law. It was written by him, his cousin Steve Arlen, and R.C. Deeney. And we read that. And on that book on the table of books, there was one book that popped out at me, which I bought, which was called Living on Light, which was about the breatharians and about people that don't eat at all. And for some reason, I was like, man, like, can that be possible? Because if you think about veganism, right, you think, all right, the cow eats the grass, and then the man eats the cow to get the energy that the cow ate that grass, right, the protein and everything right from the grass. So the vegetarian or the vegan cuts out that animal. And then so it's like, all right, well, the vegan eats the grass, the lettuce. So if we cut that out, and stare at the sun, which is what gives the grass that energy, maybe there's that thing. And so that took me on a whole path of, doing this other practice of sun gazing. And I met this man, Hiratan Manek, HRM, and helped with this documentary called Eat the Sun. The guy named Peter Sorsher. And man, it was it was a trip. Just like, but and I'm in California with all the beautiful whack jobs. So yeah, it was a trip. Like, but just really dive for New America and my mom, obviously. But that put me on that trajectory of learning about myself and and all that good stuff, man. It's
incredible.
Yeah,
it sounds like. I mean, you obviously know this better than me, but it sounds like that not only did your mum give you vegetarianism early on, which has led you down the path that you're in, but she also gave you like an openness to things.
Yeah.
An openness to community, an openness to listening to different people, because, like, I have no doubt you would have got tons out of those different conversations. But if somebody talked to me about, like, stare at the sun and, you're going to get all I'd be like, no, I'm not. Nah.
Yeah, well, I tell you, you know what? It's the same. It's really the same thing. It's. I was told this by my mom, and maybe you heard this. Don't stare at the sun; you'll go blind.
Yeah,
right.
100%.
So boom, fear-based, right?
Yeah.
So I used to teach meditation in juvenile halls in maximum security in Oakland and in San Rafael and San Francisco. I'm in Oakland, and I'm with my meditation partner, a guy named John Oda, awesome guy. He's like, hey, Anthony, tell your story a little bit, like you relate to these dudes, because, you've been in and out of stuff and in your own life. And so I'm telling them about my diet, and they were like, whoa, hold up. You don't eat meat? How are you going to have kids if you don't eat meat? So you know what I'm saying? So it's like there's a belief system in there that people have learned. And so getting back to the sun, when the sun's setting, well, the sun's rising, you could stare directly at it. It just looked like an orange, it's this glowing orange ball, and it doesn't hurt your eyes and nothing at all. It's, if the sun is at, high noon, it's directly overhead. Then that UV light is really strong and it's really powerful. But it's, it's far away, sun's in the distance, and it's not overhead yet. So it's easy, no fear. But it's interesting the things that you develop by doing this practice. I know we should be talking about veganism, but it's interesting.
No, this is fascinating to me. If you're happy to go there, I'm happy to go.
Yeah. So as you're staring at it, all of those belief systems, you're going to burn out your retinas, my uncle Tony was like, you got to be careful. This is, that sounds crazy, But then all those, it's like these little bubbles of fear just popping away. And this gentleman's claimed that he didn't eat food for 10 years. And he lived with me for a couple of weeks because I used to put on talks, for him. And I've done that for the raw food community, and Brian Clement down in Hippocrates Health Institute, and Dr. Gabriel Cousins, and David Wolf, and a bunch of people. We used to put on, just talks, come to the yoga studio and teach people about what and stuff like that. But the sun gazing thing was a beautiful thing. It really opened me up, and yeah, it's beautiful. I really don't know if that gentleman went 10 years without eating. It doesn't really matter, because the beauty of it was, what you get fed, and I really got fed from the practice. So yeah, I tell you this, it was the best year of my life, because the practice is you do 10 seconds a day.
Right.
So you stare 10 seconds, and then you're done. Next day, 20 seconds. Next day, 30, right? And you move up until you get to about 44, 45 minutes, which takes about 9 months. So,
right.
And then, there's cloudy days. It's raining. I live in San Francisco. So there's weather and all that stuff. So not every day you could do it. So it takes about a year to get there. And then there's a level 2, whatever. So to plan your day to go see the sunrise or sunset was the best year of my life. Hands down, best year of my life. Every day I'm living in Mill Valley. I drive a 1969 VW Squareback, driving up to the hills.
Oh, idyllic.
I go get a salad, go up there, bring my yoga mat, do my things, headstands, whatever. All right, sun setting, boom, do my, half an hour, 45 minutes. And then it's interesting, but the whole community, there's like a lot of young kids, bicyclists, they all go to the mountain, and they're like cheering when the sun goes down, and it's a really, it's a really beautiful thing. And yeah, it was great. It was a great year. Right on.
Like you say, it doesn't matter whether the guy ate or not. Right. Really, it's that practice, building that into your day. Absolutely. There's an appreciation of nature. There's a meditative space there. There's community. Yeah. It's like everyone would benefit from doing that.
Yeah. There's a feeling of sadness when the sun goes down that you wish you had a rewind button, like, let's rock that, let's do that again, And it's a real, like, the sun is everything, right? The sun is everything. The energy, the light, the this, and it's so when you're there, it's like your mind, you have that 1 point focus, concentration, and really, really interesting things have happened in my life. Call it spiritual or whatever, but being dedicated to that. And there's a gentleman, his name is Amrav. He's not around anymore. And he said, the sun, the light, the rays of light brings wagon loads of provisions. And so the sun is coming through your eyes. And I believe this is true. In 45 minutes, it takes all of your blood to circulate through the body and go past your eyes. So now you're staring out to the sun. The blood is going past, going behind your eyes. And when sun hits water, it kills bacteria, it kills everything. So it's like you're purifying your blood during this 45-minute practice. And, your mind is quiet. There's a quietness that happens, and there is I called it the gear shift maneuver. Like when you're, when you go into neutral, you miss a gear. It just sounds like, it's just spinning out. And that's what it felt like. It was like, I am kind of in this trance of just kind of this oneness where this thing is spinning out, and then you pop it back into gear, and then, oh, here I am. I'm, okay, I'm this guy. All right. For a minute there, I wasn't, So it's wild, man.
You mentioned earlier you felt like I forget the exact phrasing, but that New York was telling you it was time to go. Basically, it was time to be out in the West.
Yeah.
When you went, I mean, it sounds like you did.
Yeah.
Did you find everything you were kind of hoping to find?
Yes. Well, did I find everything? Yeah. I mean, I got married out there on that same mountain because I had such a connection to Mount Tamalpais that it means the lying lady. So when you're looking at it, it looks like her feet, her hip, you know, like the way the mountain is, her head. And so everyone hangs out on these body parts or these mounds. And the Indian people, the tribes of that area used to bring sick people or dying people to that area. So there's this healing aspect of being there, and that's just the mountain. I worked at you know, I basically drove across. I went to I went to a vegan raw food chef training program in Northern California. And at the time I was in Brooklyn College studying nutrition, right? I'm in Brooklyn College. The professor goes, I said, what am I going to do with a degree in nutrition? He's like, well, you know, you work in a hospital. You could work there. You know, he's giving me, you know, and I'm like, okay, so let me look at the menu of what hospitals give. It's like fried chicken, Jell-O, you know, like, well, and so I say that to him, and he's a guy. You go into his office. He had like pictures of Africa. You know, he wore like turquoise rings and silver, like dreadlock. He definitely knew what's up. And he said, and I was telling him about, I'm thinking about maybe doing this raw food thing. And he said, Anthony, the information that you're seeking, you will not find in these cold gray walls. Yeah. And maybe you should go check out what's going on in California. So my buddies were working at a health food store called Lifetime. Either everyone worked at health food stores that I hung out with or skateboard shops. And so they're working at this health food store. They say, hey man, we're going to this thing. So I looked into it, and it's in a nudist colony. Right. So we fair enough, right? So we got three dudes from Brooklyn in like swim trunks, you know, walking around going, oh, cooked food is poison, you know, like the David Wolf, you know, stuff in my head, and little by little, you know, it was just like, you know, we were able to shed that ego, you know, of like hiding our bodies or you know, all of that, you know, and I really feel like California for me, you know, in these communities and stuff that you tap into, if I was kind of still that rugged New York, you know, let's go drink and let's go smoke and let's go do this and you know, bar fights or whatever, I'm not going to vibe with some raw food nudist colony of, you know what I'm saying? Like you know, it just doesn't vibe. So I really believe green juice changed my life. Like green, really? Because you get so alkaline. You get so alkaline. I feel like we're batteries, right? So there's acidity and alkalinity, and there's positive, negative, you know, ions, neutrons, all that stuff. So we are batteries, you know, and we also have a receiver and transmitter, right? So you pick up on thoughts and, you know, I'm thinking about my buddy. And then all of a sudden you get a text, right? You're like, oh, wow, how'd that happen? You know, so we're putting stuff out. Yeah. And so all that alkalinity, I just felt like nothing negative stuck into my space. Like someone could say, oh, cut you off, you know, you drive and they cut you off and you go into this reaction. But, you know, with sun gazing and meditation and eating all this raw vegan food and the community and this positivity and, you know, the affirmations and everything, you just start to think, you know, not even think, it's like you live in this little bliss bubble and nothing really could affect you. It's really green juice, man. Amen to green juice, because you know that's the closest thing to your hemoglobin, right? It's the closest thing to your blood. You know, one has manganese, the other one has iron, but chlorophyll. Yeah, man, it's life.
And have you stuck with all of those kind of principles that you picked up at the time? You know, how much of it's kind of stuck into your day-to-day practice these days?
So, meditation is definitely the number one. There's so many great teachers. I'll tell you a quick story. I'm around 7 years old. my mother's spiritual teacher is a woman named Hilda Charlton. She passed away in 1988. And she had this land up in Ithaca, New York, but she used to teach in St. John's Cathedral. There was another building on the property in Manhattan. And I would go there. There could be up to 1,000 people there, but 300 people on a night. And she would give a talk, and everyone would drive in. We'd drive in from Queens or Brooklyn and go listen to this woman speak. And she'd be dressed in this sari, sarong. And she wasn't Indian. I think she was from London, became a dance teacher or dance student, then moved to India and was dancing and stuff. Met these gurus, and something awoke in her. And so one day she invites everyone to come up on stage, and I don't know. I'm usually downstairs in the basement. We're playing tag and running around, and I always tell the story, but I tell it like everyone from my neighborhood is Johnny and Anthony and Tony and Mikey and stuff. All these like New York Italian, Carmine, Ralphie. But there it's like Dove, Orion, and Shiva Shanti and Vali and all these names, and so that always stuck into my head. Wow, just so many colorful beings and stuff. And so she invites everybody up on stage, and my mom is standing behind me, like holding my shoulders, right? 'Cause I'm only like I really don't remember how old I was, but let's say 7, because my mom passed away at 9 years old, so I'll say 7. And she's walking me up. We take off our shoes. We go on stage, and Hilda is standing in front of me, and she goes like this, and then, boop, doesn't touch my forehead, and boom, I fall right back down. There's people catching people, and she's knocking out people. Just boom. This white light goes from, I'll use the words that I didn't know then, but like from the lower chakra maybe, just zoom, boom, like just white. I'm just completely white, and I am flushed with the energy field or the consciousness or existence or God or whatever you call that. I am completely that, literally in a flash.
Wow.
And now I'm coming to. And my mom's face is over me, and my vision is a little hazy, and my mom just looks like an angel. And she was like, "Are you okay? Was that all right?" And I'm definitely speechless. And I just remember like going off the stage, tying my shoes, like, yo, what was that? What was that? And the two things that on the drive home that really stuck with me were, and I didn't have the words, but
Yeah.
The idea was, we could be way beyond our human potential, right? If this woman could do it, I could do it, right? She's, like if she could do it. The second thing that stuck in my head was, if I could harness this power, the superhero power, Batman, Superman, right? I could kick my brother's ass, who's 5 years older than me. I could knock him out. I could zap, boom, done. And that's,
That New York 7-year-old
right.
in you was still like, how can I use this?
That's right. Yeah. So that was the experience that really stuck with me at age 7. So then meeting all these gurus and teachers, that because all that stuff was instilled in me then, like meeting these really powerful beings and hearing stories of, my uncles going to India. One uncle became a Buddhist monk for a while. My mom's sister, went to India. She also taught yoga. They all taught yoga, meditation stuff. So her siblings, that there was a 4-man crew right there, and they, it really turned me on to really amazing books, and just so really great. Be Here Now by Ram Dass. I have pictures of me with that book, and autobiography of a yogi, which in that book he talks about. He meets a woman named Guribala, who she doesn't eat food or drink water, and so I must have read that book in really young, 7th grade, 6th grade, 8th grade, and that was in that book as well. So it's wild.
Wow. Like, how did you explain that that experience that you had to your friends. I can't imagine going back to like Mikey and Johnny and like you're playing tag and you're like, you never guess what happened to me.
So at that age, no, but so I've been living on the streets. I was living on rooftops, living, under park benches when it rains. There was another thing that we called the hood. I used to live under there. It was a part of a school building. Lived on top of the school. In the playground, there was a thing we called the castle, and then from one top of the castle to the other top, there was a tube. So you could go around and then crawl through the tube. I would live in the tube, which in the winter it's a metal tube, so it'd be freezing. But I lived in a shed for months in an inflatable raft, and I used to cover myself with a picnic table umbrella, and my friend's mom caught me in there. So I never really told these stories, right? But a friend of mine was like, "Hey man, my mom and dad have been separated for 11 years. My mom wants to get remarried, so they're going to sell the house. But in the meantime, I have this house, a huge house in Queens, by myself. My sisters moved to Brooklyn, and I have this house. Why don't you move in with me? There's a grand piano on the second floor. You could have the whole bottom floor. I'll live on the top floor." I was like, "I will be there." I'm coming. Dude. We're doing this. So I'm there, and so I've been like living on the streets, like hiding my bags on like rooftops and. All my music, headphones, I would be on the rooftops, just looking out over my neighborhood, listening to Thelonious Monk and just this or that, whatever I was listening to. And he invited me there. And so I'm unpacking these pictures of my mom's teachers.
Right.
And they're like, "Yo, who's this brown dude with the afro? Like, who's this guy, And that's when I'm like laughing hysterical, but that's when I really started telling people that, and they, again, you're not eating meat, you do meditate, you gotta, your friend and your friends, they know you're nuts, you know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, it was really, there was people seeing the pictures, and that's. And
you carried it with such confidence that they were kind of like, "Oh, okay, that's Anthony.
Yeah,
that's what he does."
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, man, in the neighborhood, I was definitely the guy that people came to me with their problems, because I guess I was just so open to what was going on. So people came to me with a lot of personal stuff that I would never, I'm just there to listen, right? Because that's really the way to heal is, you get to, someone needs to not hold on to what this, this secret or this thing that they're holding on to, and they just need to release. So I became a really good listener. It doesn't seem like it now because I can't shut up, but but yeah, man.
No, not at all. That openness, you can see it's just like punctuated throughout, and has led you to all these amazing experiences.
Yeah.
Like what? So I'm interested. What took you back from the West? You were out there. Sounds like you'd built a bit of a community.
Yeah.
You're getting to know folks. You've discovered some amazing things. What took you back east?
So I'll tell you this. So I worked at Whole Foods for a little while, right? I just moved out there. I didn't, just before I started teaching meditation and yoga in the juvenile halls, and before we started the raw food business. Working at Whole Foods, and this is really how I sum up my experience in California. I could walk to a Whole Foods, and on the walk there, pick blackberries, climb trees, pick oranges, eat all this food, like literally eat, forage on the way there. Get there and be like, meh, I don't really need anything anymore. Like I'm stuffed, So like California is just abundant with a lot of amazing stuff, But then working there, you could be working there and I'd be ringing somebody up, get a palm reading. Someone will read my chakras, my energy. There's a woman named Gangaji who used to shop at that Whole Foods, Byron Katie, like all of these, so-called enlightened beings. There's just an influx of community and this person's here talking and come check this out. And so I was definitely my bliss. I tell everyone when this body, when this body is no longer, cremate and just sprinkle me on those mounds on Mount Tamalpais, because that is where I felt the most complete, the most oneness. And I, it's everywhere. It's not just there. I don't have to go to a place. You have to go to the Himalayas to find Babaji or something. It's everywhere. It's now. But that aha moment happened at that time in that place in California for sure. So I have a raw food business. I'm doing the yoga. I'm doing meditation. We're practicing. We're teaching it. And my cousin is getting married in Vermont. And a week prior to that, his sister, my other cousin, the one who gave me the Diet for a New America book, she's getting married in Montauk, which is the very, very tip of Long Island, the very end. So I'm like, all right, I can't leave the business for a 2-week period. So I call up my cousin Joe and I'm like, well, I'm going to see you at your sister's wedding. So I'll see you there. Good luck on your wedding. I'm going to fly back. I'm going to fly back to California. I love you, but I can't, I don't have enough money really to do that. My cousin's like, no. How much? He's like, how much do you make a week doing your raw food business? So I tell him, he's like, I'll pay you double, just to come to the wedding, So, obviously I didn't take the money, but so I was like, all right. So me and my girlfriend at the time, we go to the wedding. It's in this town that I'm in right now as we speak. Wedding's amazing. He has hot air balloons and 400 people there. Dr. Fred BC, who's a raw food vegan, nutritionist coach, but he's written books, and he sat at my table. Well, I introduced him to my cousin Joe, but there's, really cool, interesting people. So we're there, we're doing it. I leave, fast forward a year later, I'm getting married. I call him up. Hey man, I came out to your wedding. You coming out to mine? He's like, absolutely, I'll be there. Comes out, and at the wedding, my community's there. So there's Rastafarians, there's monks, Buddhist monks, there's Sikhs that, we had 2 Sikhs walk me down the aisle. You name it, yogis and hip hop artists, my Frankie Louie, and everybody came from Queens, so it was a very eclectic group of people. And my cousin's like, you gotta take this whole scene that you got going on and bring them to Vermont, or you gotta create this in Vermont, man. He's like, look, you just got married, my girlfriend now the missus, she's a couple of years older than you. You're gonna want to have a baby, right? You're gonna get on that thing, and you're making raw food pecan pies in one of the most expensive cities in the world. How is that gonna do it? Vermont is cheap, there's a way you can make money and all that stuff. I said, I'll use Bob Marley's quote. They asked him that when he made money, whatever, he said, what is money? What is the richest? My richest is life, And so that's how I felt in California. I'm like, I don't need that. I'm rich. I'm rich right now. Your health is your wealth, right?
Yeah.
And so he called me up week after week, month after, and he's a salesman. And he's like, yo, I just bought the butcher, this building. We're going to turn it into a yoga studio. You want to teach yoga? I got a building for you. I'm like, nah, man, I'm good. I'm teaching yoga right now. You could do meditation. No, I'm good. Next day, hey, I just bought the general store in town. You could do vegan. You turn into a vegan place, make your shakes and smoothies. I was like, I appreciate it. He bought the gas station. Hey, man, you're into biodiesel? You could turn the whole pump into biodiesel. I'm like, dude, what am I going to pump gas for $10 an hour? Me and my pregnant wife, it's not going to happen. And then he was a broker. He owned a firm, and he sold his firm, and he was like, hey, look, you got to figure out your life. I was literally living in a converted garage in San Francisco. And I was like, all right, I'll do that. And so I became a financial broker, an institutional broker for a London-based bank. We had office here. It was a branch office, but the main office office was at 350 Madison in Manhattan. And we drove cross country. Liz was pregnant. We had our first boy, Kingston, in Vermont. And then our daughter, Poet, 2 years later. And yeah, we've been here ever since. I'm no longer a broker, but it's the reason why it's these things, the food, the yoga, the meditation, and the finance became the reason why I started Whole Life Goals, because it's broken down into movement, which is the yoga for me. I was certified, meals, mind, and money. So it was the yoga certification, the raw food vegan certification, the meditation I was doing with a group called Mind Body Awareness Project in the juvenile halls, which was the mind part, and then became a financial broker, which was the money aspect. So those 4 things became the why that I started Whole Life Goals. Which in hindsight, you don't know, you don't know what the hell you're doing, but then you're like, oh wow, this is amazing. Like, yeah, man. Because once those 4 things came into balance, and don't get me wrong, when I was sober going through the raw food thing, but once I became a broker, I bought the website, wallstreetvegans.com, wallstreetyogis.com, right? Because I'm like, how am I going to get clients? I got to promote what I'm doing. And maybe there's guys that want to get healthy. Maybe I get healthy with them. My cousin, he stopped partying. He got older, got married, and he started a company called Spartan Race. So he was taking guys running and stuff. Dude, I didn't make any money. Zero. I'm like, man, I moved out here, just had a kid. My cousin's like, take the credit card, go take guys out. Spent $15,000 on champagne and hookers and drugs, not the first night, but at that, you're like, oh, what do you, and I don't mean hookers and champagne, but it's like, you're just spending money on partying, right? Oh, bring girls, bring this, bring that, right? And all of that partying, I made that next weekend, I made $20,000 in literally 2 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah, it was like, hey, we had a great night last night. Here, buy, sell this, da-da-da, boom. And it goes right into your account. I'm like, oh my God. So I was like, how? So just started, running that game for a little bit, which got me into drinking again, which got me into falling back into that old cycle of suffering, and really destroyed my wife, my life, my marriage, everything. And yeah, from there, I needed to get back to my roots, which was meditation and yoga and diet. I was always vegan and stuff like that, but was not wasn't into the raw food thing anymore, and wasn't alkaline, right? Because alcohol is very, very acidic. And so putting that back into my path has been the biggest blessing. Man. That's what I'd love to do. I love to connect people. Just to add a little bit about the site. Not only do we match people, you have a goal, and it's I want to get healthy. I want to do this. I have a financial goal. All these things. Movement, meals, my money. It says, what is your goal? And then those categories are there. Movement, meals, my money. I'll lose weight. Train for an event. Boom. That's in this category. Get stronger, flexible, fit. Very generic. Just click through, these other tabs open up, you click through. But when it gets to the end, it says traumatic experiences. And so, I've gone through, a couple of experiences myself. And so there's things that you could click, like, military trauma, bankruptcy, divorce, death in the family, physical, sexual abuse, even stuff like vaccine issues, right? Maybe you're forced to take this vaccine, or maybe you took it, yeah, man, I took it, I'm doing my part. And then you're thinking, maybe I shouldn't have taken it. Maybe you have questions. So the site is there to link you with someone that's also gone through these experiences, right? Because I think that's where the real magic happens. Because you want to become a millionaire? You don't go hang out with the guy that's broke. Go hang out with the guy that became a millionaire. And then it's a life hack, right? So that's why I want to connect you with the guy that knows how to make a financial plan, the guy who knows how to do, how to do that stuff. So, so that's what the site is to really connect people. Man, I'm divorced, gained 20 pounds, can't get off the couch. All right, well, here's a therapist that's been divorced, gained 60 pounds, and knows exactly the steps to live a healthy lifestyle. Boom. That's the guy. That's the person I want to connect you with. And so that's really how the site works, and there's no one else doing it. The only other group that I'm like gleaning from, I guess it's two. One would be like dating apps, right? Because you're matching people, but it's not a dating app. And the other one would be like AA or NA, right? Because if what they say is, if you want what we have, which is sobriety, then come here and get it, right? Come here. Like, on the site it says, surrounding yourself with the right people changes everything, right? So if I want to be a yogi, I hang out with yogis. If I want to be a street kid, then I hang out in the streets,
It sounds like this was really built off of all of these incredible life experiences you've had. Like, you did exactly these things, you were with crowds who were amazing for you, with crowds who were less so.
Right on.
And you had the kind of self-awareness and presence of mind to know when that was happening, even if it was a little bit down the track.
For sure.
Many people don't. They just stay in that cycle.
Yeah.
But to know that, and then to think, okay, how do I give people that same kind of experience, the same kind of awareness, if you like, to go and find the right communities to get what they want out of life.
Right on.
It's such a simplistic, but all the best ideas are, Love it.
Thank you, man.
What an idea.
Thank you. So real quick, tell me about your journey a little bit, and I don't really know much about you, and I know you're doing great things, and you're bringing vegan awareness to everyone, and thank you.
Do you know,
it's amazing.
I wish I could say it was as interesting a story as yours, but it's, sadly less so. No, I grew up in the kind of it's interesting you talking about don't stare at the sun, those kind of fear-based things. I grew up in a very kind of mainstream view of the world, omnivorous, all those kind of things, lots of sports teams growing up, lots of those kind of things, lots of the received wisdom was kind of like the space I was in. I think in college I went vegetarian actually in college of my own accord. I was kind of, it's interesting you talk about skateboarding culture. I was into skateboarding and bands and that kind of culture, kind of indie rock at the time, and it kind of dates me, but like mid-90s bands like Weezer and things like that, and those kind of things. That was kind of Oasis in the UK, and I was into that kind of stuff. Grandaddy and Super Furry Animals, all these kind of different bands, sure. And I went through uni like that, and I kind of just completely dropped in, if you like, at the end of uni. I was like, right, well, I'm not a rock star yet. None of these things have panned out, so I'll go and get a normal job and live the normal life, and did do for years and years and years, and to some extent, I guess still do. But 2017, I watched Cowspiracy randomly. Netflix's algorithm caught me, and I watched it and was completely, blown away. Just felt like, this can't be true, I think was my first reaction. This can't be. If this was true, everyone would be. It would be criminal for this not to be talked about if this was true, which of course I found out it is. And then I found there's lots of other things that are criminal that aren't talked about. But I had this naive view that generally people in, it sounds ridiculous now, people in positions of authority they're trying to do the right thing, generally speaking. And I checked the sources of Cowspiracy, because I thought, well, it still can't be, big organisations would be saying this. This must be, some organisation that's, in a basement in some dodgy part of London, or that sort of thing, that's come out with this. Found out this was it wasn't like it wasn't one of those. It was the United Nations. It was World Health Organization. It was UNICEF. It was Oxford University. Like, and I was kind of like, well, why is this stuff not front page? So that night, that was it. It was like, I'm vegan. So I went vegan the next day. Didn't know what to do. My wife watched the same documentary that evening, so I was like, we need to rewatch this.
Yes.
So you need to see it, 'cause I watched it on my own. She watched it, exactly the same reaction. She was like, yeah, you're right, we need to do this. So we went vegan the next day, didn't know what to do, didn't know any other vegans, just went about our own business for a couple of years.
Undercover vegan.
Undercover, just like, I'm going to live my life, and this is enough. This is enough. And I think I kept feeling like, I don't know anybody else, and this is a bit of a lonely space to be in, because you just realise that the whole world has got this viewpoint that's very, you know, contrary to yours. They just think all this suffering and all this harm and all this, you know, and it used to really get under my skin when people would talk about things like climate change and like, you know, I'm using a recycled straw or something, or a paper straw. And I'd be like, yeah, but you're like literally eating sushi. So like you're no plastic straw to save a fish, which you have then killed to eat. It doesn't make any sense. Totally. So those kind of like logical inconsistencies start to come out.
Did you see Seaspiracy?
Yeah. I saw Seaspiracy recently. I was lucky enough actually to interview Captain Paul Watson from Sea Shepherd, and that was like, just incredible to listen to somebody who's been in that, fighting that particular cause, because it feels like that's actually, I'm digressing slightly, but another level again that almost even in the vegan world, people don't necessarily view, marine life on the same level as land-based animals.
Interesting.
So that was kind of fascinating. I think Seaspiracy did a lot of good work in that space. But so 2 years later, I decided, right, I'm going to kind of find a community. I volunteered at my local vegan festival to introduce guest speakers, and realised that there was lots of different types of vegans, which I didn't know. I again, not speaking to any, I thought everyone was pretty liberal, pretty left-wing, pretty, they were pretty accepting of others. And then I found like somebody who described themselves as like a right-wing vegan. I was like, what? And they didn't mean like right-wing as in their hardline vegan. They meant like they have right-wing politics, but that was like, whoa, that's crazy. So I then decided off the back of that, I was like, not because I wanted to interview right-wing vegans, but I was like, I want to do a podcast where I
bring everybody in,
tell other people, and just bring all these people and let people talk, and people like me who were back in that space might listen to that and think, oh my God, there's somebody for me in this space. And, that was the premise. So a couple of years, I've gone on for a while there, but sort of 3-4 years down the vegan road, 4.5 years down the vegan road, and 2+ years into podcasting, and 122, 3, 4 conversations later. Wow. And everyone I speak to is like something new again. I mean, today I've learnt about, folks who are staring at the sun, and people who are living off air, and like even that is like, whoa, okay, I need to find out some more stuff. So I love it. I love it.
That's amazing. and bloody vegan had the name. Is it just like the slang, bloody this? How?
It's one of these. I mean, in the UK, like. It's quite a common like
bloody hell.
It's a gentle swear word. Right. It's like it's the sort of thing your nan might say. If she's a bit disgruntled with something, oh, bloody vegans are always. It's the kind of thing that I just hear like all the time in the background, especially when I became vegan. It's just a sort of, and it would be like people being annoyed at like the fact that there was too many vegan options on a menu, or annoyed that there was vegans protesting in the street, doing the cube of truth or whatever, and you just hear them go, oh, bloody vegans.
Amazing.
And I just thought it would be quite funny to sort of tongue-in-cheek kind of wear the badge,
man.
We're those kind of annoying bloody vegans,
So just to piggyback off your story, I'm in New York City. We're going to, me, my girlfriend at the time, my buddy, my buddy Pat, who's vegan, who just became vegan because he read the book, and my buddy Shaggy, who's a New York City breakdancer. We're going to a club called Tramps. We're going to listen to Bismarcky, Nice and Smooth, and like a bunch of other like older hip hop. Yeah, this is 90s. So we go there, and we're telling Shaggy like, "Yo, you got to read this book." He's like, "I don't read. You got to check out this vegan thing, right?" Because we're walking around like Diet for New America is our Bible. You know, it's like, yo, this is the one, you know. And no, not doing it. Check this out. We go to a hip hop show, break dancers, MCs, everyone's boom, club is going off. In the back, Animal Defense League is playing slaughter videos in the back of this hip hop club on 22nd Street.
Wow, really?
And Shaggy's the one who brought us there. Like, yo, we definitely got to go to the show, right? He's the dude. Like, he's gonna be dancing and everything. The whole time he's like, I'm like, yo, Nice and Smooth is on. Yo, chill. He just was on it, taking stickers.
Really?
Yeah. When we left, he was like, I'm not even kidding you. I ate McDonald's today. I will never eat meat again. And that was 25 years ago. So just like you, he watched the video and boom.
Yeah.
Just like that. And we were like telling him, no, he didn't want to hear from us. But once he saw it, you know, some people need the visual, you know?
Yeah.
It's powerful.
Yeah. How strange that, like, that night, that was the night. You've been talking about it literally on the way there. Like, there's something going on there, some sort of fated force, you know?
Amen.
Yeah, incredible. Incredible.
Wild stuff.
But Anthony, time's getting away from us, and I definitely want to make sure folks know how to find Whole Life Goals and get in touch, because I just think there's so much value for folks to have in there. You know, finding these mentors who literally could be life changing in their different fields. So let's tell some folks how to find you.
So if you are a certified professional and you want to join the site, we have a promo code that's free for 12 months. So the site is $10 a month, but it's free for 12 months. On month 13, then we charge you. And that's promo code WLG, which is Whole Life Goals, the number 4, U. So Whole Life Goals for You is free for a year. And then we also have another one which it supports our team, you know, which is Whole Life Goal WLG Friends. And that makes it $2.99 times 12 months, so it's $35.88 for the whole year. And for the lifetime of the membership, it's $2.99. So as the price goes up, it's always $2.99.
Nice.
So that's if you're a certified professional. And no matter where you are, if you do stuff through, you know, online, like if you're a, you know, hypnotherapist or whatever you do online, coaching and stuff like that, you could do this around the world, right? We don't take a piece of the money, you know, for your session at all. We want you to join. We want you to stand ready. And then if you have a goal, if you have a holistic health and wellness goal, in the meals, movement, mind, money category, it's for free. Just come on in and search. Nice. And, you know, you could search if I'm looking for a massage therapist, you know, you could just search and boom, go right there. You don't have to go through the matching stuff. If you know what you want, you know, it serves as a directory as well as a matching site. And so it's wholelifegoals.com, WHOLELIFEGOALS.com. And then you could always contact me at AC, which are my initials, at wholelifegoals.com. And, you know, if you have any questions, anything I could do to help, books, documentaries, if you want to shoot the shit about anything, you know, let me know. I'm down. I love that. I get so stoked about, you know, hooking people up and creating, you know, little drops of awesomeness in your community. Or if you want to talk to somebody else on the site, you know, not me, we have a staff, and that's info@wholelifegoals.com. Yeah.
Amazing.
Right on.
Anthony, we'll pop all of those details in the show notes, including all the codes, etc.
Right on.
So folks have got all those ready. So if you're listening and you want to do any of the stuff that Anthony's just talked about, you can do all of that. If you just go into the show notes, you'll find all of that info there.
Amazing.
So, amazing. Anthony, it's been an absolute pleasure. Best of luck with Whole Life Goals, and I'll speak to you again, hopefully.
Sounds good, my brother.